You're watching Eye on Ocean County. I'm Christina Seco. My guest this segment suffered a massive heart attack at just 16 years old and was not expected to make it through the night. And for 9 months, she lived on an experimental battery-operated mechanical heart assist device as she waited for a transplant. Please welcome Jessica Melore, who recently celebrated her 30th birthday and owes it all to an organ donor. Jessica, happy birthday.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I want to talk about your story and talk about that night. I mean, you were actually read your last rites. What was that like for you?
Well, so that day I was feeling perfectly fine, and I was out at a restaurant with my family. All of a sudden I started to feel dizzy and lightheaded. When that subsided, I felt pressure pains going from my chest to my neck and a heaviness in my arms. And I figured it must have been an allergic reaction to the food that I had just eaten. I couldn't imagine that it was really serious. And I was surprised that they called 911. So they took me to a local hospital. They called in a cardiologist to perform an echocardiogram. And he looked up at my parents after a long time of moving this gel over my heart and said, you know, your daughter's having a major event. And he said she's having a massive heart attack. So we were just completely floored. These were the last words that we expected to hear. Especially because I was co-captain of the tennis team at the time. I was 16 years old. I was female. You never hear about heart disease happening at that age, especially, you know, with women, or so I thought.
So a very active lifestyle. You were most healthy as far as you knew.
Yeah, I was very healthy. I didn't drink or smoke or do drugs. I did everything right. I didn't have high cholesterol. And what had happened was a blood clot got lodged in the artery leading to the left side of my heart. It was completely blocking all blood flow. So they knew that they had to take me to a second hospital to try to remove the clot. When we got to that second hospital, they discovered it was completely blocking the artery, and I was crashing and my lungs were filling up with fluid. By this point, I was unconscious because they had put me under with sedation. So they read me the last rites, you know, while I was in this unconscious state, but it was a living nightmare for my parents.
I can't even begin to imagine what was going through their minds at this time. And now you were also taken to a third hospital that night.
I was.
What happened then?
Well, what had happened was they drained my lungs by some miracle and managed to stabilize me in hopes of having a heart transplant as my last resort. So they took me to this third hospital, but because there is such a critical shortage of organ donors in this country, there weren't any hearts available for me at the time. All they had was an experimental heart assist device that was yet to be FDA approved. It was about the size of a large donut. It was called the LVAD, which stands for Left Ventricular Assist Device. This LVAD was implanted in my abdomen, and it had 2 tubes that connected to the left side of my heart and literally pumped into the work for the left side because that had been destroyed by the clot. It had a drive line that extended outside my stomach and connected to 2 large batteries that I had to change every 2 to 4 hours. But this device bought me time and allowed me to survive while I waited for the heart transplant.
Now let's talk about the waiting period, because like we had mentioned, it was 9 months that you waited, and you got that call a few days before your high school graduation. What was that like to get that call that you're going to get a second chance at life?
The feeling is almost indescribable. I was really excited. It would mean that I would be able to move on with my life, but I also knew it was open heart surgery, and so there was some trepidation there. I had met a lot of people with successful heart transplants, and I had a lot of confidence in my transplant surgeon. But there's always that chance that maybe I wouldn't make it. And I remember being wheeled towards the operating room and looking back at my parents and not knowing if I would see them again. And I also knew that there was a family out there grieving the loss of their loved one while I was getting a second chance at life.
And that leads me to my next question for you. How does that feel? I mean, you were given the gift of life, but someone else had to lose their life. We do have a picture of the woman who did save your life. Her name is Shannon. Tell me about her and tell me about that experience for you.
So at first, your connection to your donor family is kept anonymous. I wrote a letter that was forwarded through an organization like the one that I work for to the family. And I just described all the dreams that I would be able to achieve because of this incredible gift. And it was a hard letter to write because how do you put into words how incredibly grateful you are?
And here's a picture of Shannon. Tell us a little bit about her.
So a year later, I got a letter back from her mother, and she described Shannon as someone who loved horses. That stood out the most. She also loved to sing and to write, which were two things that I really loved to do. And so I felt that connection with her. And we began an email correspondence over the years, and I think we were always interested in meeting each other, but we didn't know how to approach the other person. Then the Donate Life Rose Parade Committee approached me a year ago this past December and said that they wanted to honor Shannon in the Rose Parade float on New Year's Day with a portrait, and they wanted me to ride in her honor. So we had the opportunity to decorate this portrait, and that seemed like the perfect chance to meet.
Now, what's, I think, remarkable about this situation is Shannon was a young girl like yourself at the time, and it may not always be the thing that you think of as a high school student to sign your donor card, but she did this on her own, and this was her choice, and this is something, that I don't think a lot of high school students may have their donor cards signed. Why is it so important?
It's so important because families don't often take the time to discuss donation. It's not your average dinner table conversation, and it makes such a difference to the family having that sense of comfort of knowing what their loved one wanted. And to me, meeting my donor family, that was the most meaningful thing to me, learning that she had made such a selfless decision, because that's the reason that I'm here today. I wouldn't be alive today if she hadn't registered on her license.
Now, because of Shannon, you were able to go on to Princeton University, you graduated there, and you also fought through several complications as well throughout this process of waiting for a heart. You had a leg amputation, as well as you're a cancer survivor. So because of Shannon, you battled through so many hurdles. Talk to us about that.
So the leg amputation actually happened the same week that I had the heart attack. That entire week I was hanging on by threads. They had put a balloon pump in my left leg as part of a life safety precaution, but it cut off circulation, and they knew that was a risk. And it became a matter of my leg or my life, so they had to amputate it to save my life. I then relearned how to walk with a prosthetic leg, but that didn't hold me back at all. I just saw it as a challenge to find creative ways to do things. With the cancer, I experienced that twice. Once the summer after my freshman year at Princeton University, a year after I received the transplant, and then again in October 2007. They weren't considered relapses, but having been through so much, it gave me the strength to continue on and realize how much I was capable of.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned earlier that, when you were waiting in the hospital, you said there was such a shortage of hearts out there. The national waiting list exceeds 110,000 people who are waiting for an organ. That is a huge number of people who are in need.
It's an incredibly huge number, a critical shortage, and the need becomes more dire by the minute. Every 13 minutes, another name is added to the list. Right now, there are over 112,000 people waiting, and 18 people will die today from not having received one in time. To me, the biggest tragedy is these people aren't dying from an incurable disease. We have the capacity to save them if only more people would register their decision to be an organ and tissue donor.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in our next segment. We have to take a quick commercial break, Jessica, but don't go away. When we come back, we'll introduce you to a woman who gave her former student a second chance at life. We'll explain.
Out of all the things I've done in my life, and the drugs I've tried, meth was the one that I thought would put me in my grave. And it would have. If I did not have a strong family who finally stepped through the meth wall and yanked me back to life. Maybe you can help someone get their life back.
Bet the mail's here. I got it last time.
I'm busy.
Busy.
For some people, living with painful hips or knees can turn little jobs into big jobs. But it doesn't have to be that way. Today, physicians and patients are partnering together, choosing from a new generation of treatments and therapies that can not only reduce hip and knee pain, but restore a little spring. Life's too short to be stuck in the slow lane. To get up to speed on just how far hip and knee treatments have come, visit orthoinfo.org, a public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Don't forget tomorrow's trash day.
What's it like when you hear your calling? Will you ignore it? Or will you listen? What if it calls you to go halfway around the world? To serve people you've never met? What will you do when you hear your calling? Peace Corps, life is calling. How far will you go?
Thanks for staying with us here on Eye on Ocean County. I'm Christina Seco. My guest to this segment generously donated a kidney to her former student, a little girl who was just 5 years old at the time. And now the two have a bond that can never be broken. Please welcome Donna Kuchinski, and also joining us once again is Jessica Melore of the New Jersey Organ and Tissue Sharing Network. Donna, thanks for joining us, and Jessica, thanks again for being with us. Donna, I want to start with you, and I want to talk about, this generous act that you gave one of your kidneys to a student, someone who's not related to you. What made you decide to give this little girl a second chance at life?
Well, I met Kylie when she was just 3 years old. She had been born with multiple birth defects and minimal kidney function. And when she was 13 months old, her father attempted to give her a kidney, and that transplant failed. So she had been on dialysis from that point forward. I met her when she was 3 years old. She was eligible for home school instruction, and I was a speech therapist assigned to her case. So I actually went into her home. And going into the home, I saw how this family was struggling to keep this little girl alive.
A beautiful little girl. We have a picture of her on the screen.
Yes, and she's also a twin. They were trying to keep life as normal as possible for her and her twin sister, Kim. And shortly after meeting her, I discussed with my husband the possibility that I could be her kidney donor. It was something I just felt compelled to do. And I moved forward with the testing process, and the doctor said, you're probably going to be 1,000,000 to 1 odds to be a match. But after all the testing, they said that I was a probable donor for Kylie, to give her a kidney. At that point, I knew that I could help her with her speech and language skills, but I really felt like what she needed was a living donor and a kidney. So on March 30th of 2010, our surgery was performed, and it was successful. So she'll soon be celebrating her 2nd anniversary with her kidney.
That is so wonderful, and you're a hero to this family, I'm sure.
They thank me all the time, and they're so gracious for the gift that I gave Kylie, but I feel like I was given the gift. She's part of my life now, and my life really has been changed by going through this process. Through this whole process and following it, I became involved with the New Jersey Sharing Network, where I've met just wonderful, caring, and positive people who many have experienced donation in some form, and it's a wonderful experience.
Now, Jessica, you're alive because of someone who lost their life. Kylie's alive because somebody donated, a living donor here. Sitting next to her, we're saying she's a hero. What do you think of her sitting here doing something like this? Because you are proof that you're here because of somebody else.
I think it's the ultimate gesture. To give someone the gift of life and make that decision and give of yourself, it's irreplaceable. And I think that she's a hero and just so selfless for making that decision and allowing this little girl to live.
Now, Donna, you had mentioned you had talked to your family about this. You know, for some reason you felt it was going to be a match, and you knew that in your heart of hearts. Was your family supportive, or did they say?
They were a little amazed at first that I was even thinking of doing this. You know, organ donation is not something that really I had ever thought about before meeting Kylie. But once I met her, it just was something that I was compelled to do. And now I know how important the message is about organ donation and registering to be an organ and tissue donor.
Now you look healthy to me. I mean, how do you feel? Because I know like one of the myths out there, or some of the misconceptions are, I might need my other kidney. I don't want to give it away. I mean, so how do you feel after the surgery? What was that like?
The surgery was just a day of excitement for me, really. You know, as a living donor, you're always given the option to back out. Even when I was on the table ready to go into surgery, they said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, just let's get going with it all. And it just was a great experience all the way around. The recovery was, you know, like a regular surgery. I'm not going to say that it was nothing, but, you know, it was quick. And I felt great shortly after, and I'm fine now, and everything's perfect.
So would you recommend to people at home, if they're thinking of doing this, to go forward?
Sure, and you know, there's a lot of us out there, living donors, who would love to act as resources for, you know, people thinking about this. I had someone that I asked a lot of questions to as I was going through this process, and it's very helpful.
I think it's wonderful. I want to switch to you, Jessica, for a little bit and talk about one of the programs that the New Jersey Tissue and Sharing Network is part of, the High School Heroes program, which is near and dear to your heart. Like we said, Shannon was a high school student. So talk to us about this program.
So the High School Heroes program is part of the New Jersey Hero Act, which mandated that all high schools integrate organ and tissue donation education into their curriculum. And I think this is vitally important because I was a senior in high school. I didn't know anything about transplantation before I was up for my transplant. And so we have volunteers that go in, we hold training sessions for teachers, we urge them to get involved by visiting our website at sharenj.org. Volunteers like Donna have gone in and spoken, and we're always looking for more volunteers.
And like you had said, Donna, that now you are a part of the New Jersey Tissue and Sharing Network. What has your experience, how has it led you there?
Well, shortly after I went through the donation process, I was speaking to Dr. Buttle, who also is a living donor. He's in charge of the rehab department at Jersey Shore University Medical Center, and he's a living donor also. And he hooked me up with the Sharing Network, knowing that I was an educator and being involved. He knew about the High School Heroes program, and he said, I really would like you to go up there. And I went up for training, and I do go out into the high schools now and tell my story, share other stories such as Jess's. And the high school students are really interested and attentive. And you know, we just give them education so that they're able to make the choice when they turn 18 to check the box for organ and tissue donor.
Right, and very important, something so simple to do, but it can make all the difference.
Exactly. And through the New Jersey Hero Act, we also have a partnership with the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission, because 98% of registrations come through motor vehicles. So we have volunteers like Donna and others within Ocean and Monmouth counties going out to Freehold and Lakewood, Edentown, Hazlitt, and Manahawkin, Toms River agencies.
So getting the word out there throughout the state of New Jersey.
Educating the public, and we're always looking for more people to participate.
And speaking of volunteers, Donna, you're a group leader for the Donate Life Monmouth Ocean County Division. What is that?
Well, New Jersey Sharing Network services 14 counties in the state of New Jersey, and they realized that each area is different and they service a different group of people. So what they wanted to do was get it more at the county level, where people can volunteer at a closer area and also service businesses and local organizations in their counties. So I volunteered to head up Donate Life Monmouth Ocean. We meet bi-monthly to share ideas, and we volunteer at different events in our area.
And Jessica, you mentioned that you are looking for more volunteers from this area.
We are, and the whole idea behind the program is getting the messaging out on a local grassroots level, your common touch points in life, you know, whether it be your local house of worship, local business, motor vehicles, civic organizations that you're involved in. You don't have to be part of the group to help out. If you have any particular connection, you can share that with us, and we'd be happy to work that out. But also the group is comprised of both people touched by donation and people that are just touched by the cause. Like we always say, you never know how you're going to be affected by donation. You might know a friend who is going to be on the waiting list one day. You might yourself might be in need of an organ, or someone in your family. And if you were in that position, you'd hope that there was someone out there.
Absolutely. We have to take a quick commercial break, ladies, but don't go away. When we come back, we'll tell you how you can raise awareness about organ and tissue donation just by wearing blue and green. We'll explain.
And now, another adventure with Savings Man.
Oh dear, I can't afford that.
Charge it. You can pay it off later.
Not so fast, credit card guy.
Savings Man.
Don't let him entice you, ma'am. Credit card guy can lead you to big trouble. You need a savings plan.
You're right, Savings Man.
Get this ballpark estimate worksheet at choosetosave.org. It will help you get started.
Gee, thanks, Savings Man.
No, thank you.
So visit choosetosave.org and get your ballpark estimate today.
Do you get anything out of your job besides a paycheck? Do you work in a positive environment with motivated people? Do you just want to make a living, or do you want to make a difference? Then call Career and find a rewarding position supporting people with developmental disabilities and people with mental illness. It's not just a job, it's a career with a future. Call 1-800-883-2500. Career. Care about making a difference.
Is intense. But if you complete the journey, you will find your destiny among the world's greatest warriors. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Thanks for staying with us here on Eye in Ocean County. I'm Christina Seco. February is National Heart Awareness Month, and joining me once again to discuss the importance is Jessica Melore of the New Jersey Organ and Tissue Sharing Network, and Donna Kuchinski, the group leader of Donate Life, Monmouth and Ocean. Thanks again for being with us, ladies. And let's talk about February. It is National Heart Awareness Month. Jessica, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's very personal to me, obviously, with having had the massive heart attack when I was 16. And having received a heart transplant, because I think a lot of women don't realize that it's the #1 killer of men and women, heart disease. So with that, I think comes the message of organ and tissue donation. We're red all over the place, and we're hoping to do the same with organ and tissue donation with a big national campaign this year.
Right, that campaign is National Donate Life Blue and Green Day. Donna, I want to talk to you. I mean, I know they're doing a creative push online to help really get people involved. Talk to us about that.
Online, they are...
On Facebook, they're having, to kind of have people get a little bit creative of wearing those colors. Jessica, maybe you can tell us about that.
Sure. So the idea is we would get everyone on every level, whether it's news anchors or businesses, motor vehicle employees, hospital employees, local retailers, and restaurants to sponsor, blue and green events. But even, in your own home, having the most creative outfit, we're encouraging people to post on Donate Life NJ's Facebook page or on the Donate Life America Facebook page, and we're going to be awarding prizes for the most creative outfits and just encouraging video so that...
Sure, to kind of have a little fun with it, to get out there. And that date is April 20th. It's a Friday. So to kind of get people, you know, wear red in February, wear blue and green in April rather. So that should be a lot of fun. But another campaign you guys have is 20 million in 2012. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. So 20 million in 2012 is a nationwide effort, and it's our biggest national push to integrate a number of events like the National Donate Life Blue and Green Day so that people can come together across the nation and get that sort of national recognition that people need to hear when it comes to saying yes to donation. We're also going to have a flash mob on March 24th. There's going to be a special dance posted to YouTube, and all around the country groups are going to be arranging, you know, different dance moments. There's going to be partnerships with sports teams, also pictures with people linking hands in solidarity and support of donation. And I know for Blue and Green Day, Donna is planning a special event as well.
Yes, Kylie celebrates her 2nd anniversary with her kidney, so we are hoping to have her school wear blue and green on that day. So that's going to be a fun day for all of us.
What is it like for you to visit with Kylie and to see her thriving as she should as a child?
It's pretty amazing because her quality of life has definitely changed. This was a little girl who was very sick, you know, having heart problems and on a special formula for nutrition, never really chewed food until after transplant. So it's amazing to see her now living a normal life, having a birthday party, you know, trick-or-treating this year for the first time. You know, just little things that everyone takes for granted.
What is your relationship with her and the family now?
We're very close. We really are. We share special days, and I still go over to play with them, and it's just fun.
Absolutely. I can't imagine the relationship that you have with her now, and it's thanks to you that she's here. It's a very wonderful and generous thing. And Jessica, what is your relationship with Shannon's family?
Well, we've kept in contact. You know, I think we definitely want to meet again. It was just such an emotional and loving meeting for our families to meet for the first time. So we are planning to have a reunion at some point in the future. We live a distance away from each other, but we're always close to each other's hearts, and I feel like I'm living every day for Shannon and for myself to honor that gift.
Very nicely put, that you're living for the both of you. Now, do you think they'll be heading out to the race that's coming up, New Jersey Sharing Network's 5K race that's coming up this summer? Do you think they'll try to get them out there?
Well, we hope so. You know, the 5K, it was such a tremendous response that we received. It's going to be on June 10th. And we had over 4,000 people attend last year. It was just a wonderful combination of donor families, recipients, support from the community, runners, you know, just showing enthusiasm.
We have a picture here of the starting line. People are ready, they're getting ready to go.
Yeah, and just on so many different levels of connections, you know, so many donor family teams have been formed in honor of someone's memory, and just seeing people come together in celebration of that is a very powerful thing. And also it allows us to raise much needed funds for educational programs throughout the state. So we have a registration site that's live right now. It's sharenj5k.org. So we're encouraging people to sign up.
Okay, and also online you can learn about, again, organ donation. Final push, Jessica.
Yes, so even if you haven't signed up on your license, you can renew in between your renewal cycles by signing up at sharenj.org.
Okay, and Donna, for you, a final push to tell people out there that they can be as heroic as you.
You know, going through this process, I met very many medical professionals whose job is to save people's lives through transplant, but they need the organs, and the way we can all help is by registering to be organ and tissue donors on our licenses.
Absolutely, and of course you can log on to sharenj.org. Jessica, I want to thank you and for telling your story, and Donna, of course, thank you and for sharing your story as well, and I'm sure Kylie's family is thanking you every day. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time on Eye on Ocean County.